Hello, we're back.
We did it. We did it. What a week. How was your week?
Great question. It is a busy week, but a short week on the work front. But that doesn't mean that it's a short week on the work front. So, it was Thanksgiving this week, which means that preparations were made. I thankfully was invited to a friend's house. A dear friend from college and her family invited us in, and we had a fantastic time. And the food was incredible. My son made some pie, and then the work week was good. We were putting together some finishing touches on things. I did have some RFPs that closed. I had a couple of no's that came in, which was sad, but at least there's closure. On the other side, a couple contracts going out. As you know, this time of year, people are trying to, button things up, but it's also, it's like hurry up and wait sometimes. And then, if I work a lot with higher education institutions and they shut down for 2 weeks when the kids leave. So there's a lot of activity that's happening before that happens. And then, how about you? Why don't you tell me a little bit about what went on in your world?
Sure, yeah. As a salesperson, this time of year can be quite challenging. Um, if you've had a good quarter and you're waiting on signatures and some final things to get approved, it can be very exciting. If you're prospecting, and well, you're always prospecting, but as you're prospecting and building pipeline for Q1, there's a delicate balance in terms of how you communicate with your prospects.
Yep.
And so, understanding the nuances of that. If it's cold, not great. If it's warm, you can control the process a little bit more with expectations and say, well, actually, if we do this now, it saves us some time then, and
Yeah.
that kind of back and forth. It's a good time for discovery, though.
Yes.
Some people are equally as intrigued and saying this could be a good start to get us going and have further conversations in Q1.
Yeah.
Again, this is all assuming that they're not knocking down your door and asking for your time. Yeah, but otherwise, great Thanksgiving. We hosted, and it is just a great vibe, which is, speaking of vibes and associated with selling, I once told the director of finance that I sell on vibes. And let me tell you, finance people aren't interested in hearing things like that. But, you know, I think I think the vibe you establish is important.
Yeah.
And hey,
Yeah. finance
so
finance people want numbers. Show me
well,
the.
so do we.
I
So do we.
I get it. I get it.
So do we. But to equate it a little bit to Thanksgiving, uh, people want to feel welcome. They
Yes.
want to feel like there's positive energy in the air
Yep.
and people aren't running around stressed out and
Yeah.
anxious. And so establishing a positive vibe is a lot of my role around the
Uh huh.
holidays. Um,
I sent out
I,
a lot of thank you emails. Thank you for past business. Thank you for allowing us to talk. I did that. I enjoy that. The introspection that we have at this time of year as the days get shorter is, I think, valuable, and I think it's also it's an important reminder to thank others because they are helping you. Even the no's. Yeah, I thank the no's too because I learned something, and I will often ask that, please tell us what we could do better to be considered in the future because we want to know, like we want to be better. We want this and we want to be thankful even when we're not selected, and We want to be thankful for this time that we have together on this earth. I mean, it's a short one.
Whew. Amen. Yeah, I did you take it to LinkedIn though?
Did I take my thanks to LinkedIn?
Right.
I did say thanks on LinkedIn publicly to people I worked with, not specifically. And I like to, on the actual day, I like to signal what I preach, which is we are, I am doing me on the actual day, and to be in, I don't want to be in your feed. And if you're looking, that's great. You can see the stuff that you missed, but I don't necessarily need to be thinking about generating new content necessarily on the day. I think that's a good pause. But that's me.
We had a conversation on Thanksgiving about bosses wishing their employees a happy Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and whether or not employees wanted to hear from anybody from work on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Interesting. And
It was,
what was
I figured you were going to ask me the result of the conversation. It started because someone in the family was part of a text thread in which their boss was on the text thread. And it's a smaller shop. Um, and the boss relayed a very impersonal happy Thanksgiving with a turkey emoji,
okay?
or like have a good one, or,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it got us thinking like, well, do you want to hear
Right.
from your boss on Thanksgiving? Is that the type of relationship you have? And I do think it comes down to existing rapport
Yep.
and relationships, expectations.
Yep.
As someone who was a boss for 7 or 8 years, my rapport with a lot of my direct reports was much more friendly. I was a boss by title
Yep.
and obligation,
Yep.
but not in terms of relationship,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
guess. So I do think it just depends,
Sure.
but that's not something I don't think my boss is thinking I need to, tell my employees I'm really grateful for them on the day.
Right.
Maybe they might send something out the day before.
So
Hope you enjoy the week. Tell
we
me.
sent something out on Wednesday, and gave people a half day. So we thanked everybody for their hard work throughout the fall and said, you know what, to get a jump on your weekend, we are, basically shutting the office down midway through the day. And if you'd already taken it as a day off, we're going to credit you back your half day of PTO. And that way we can have a communication that's a positive communication with our team before the day. And then, over the weekend, we're out. There are people who leaned in that had some things that they wanted to finish up, and actually having no distractions allowed them the space and breadth to work on some things. And again, we work with them to ensure that they're credited for their time in a way that feels right. Um, but yeah, I think that like for us, or at least for me, as I said, I'm a shut it down. I'm gonna do what I tell you, and I've told you to take some time, and so I'm gonna take some time, and I'm gonna give you your time, and you do you, and I'm gonna do me, and that's gonna be okay. But to your point,
That's
if I had
fair.
a different relationship with some of the folks that I work with, I might change that, the way that I think about that. The hard part for me has been as a person with CEO in the title is that all of a sudden my communications are very different and they're fraught sometimes. And so people don't want to hear from me.
Yeah. Oh God.
Kinda.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
sensitive to that, so I try not to communicate in ways that might be misconstrued or perceived differently, and I keep it in line.
Good news. We want to hear from you.
Ah, you're the
And
best.
so on this very special Thanksgiving episode, there are things that we need to talk about, and there are things I think that we both want to read each other.
I I believe so. I definitely
Yeah.
believe so. Um,
Tell me.
I want to thank. We have a toy sponsor, Rob.
Official? It's in the book. Yeah.
A dear friend of ours works with Kidrobot and sent these lovely book uh,
What do you call
senior moment.
them? Bookends?
That's the word I'm looking for. Holy cow! Uh,
Oh, I got a space. I got a space waiting.
yeah. Well,
I'm ready
I
for
believe that he said that he did not want you to be left out of this, but I'm going to give him a shout out. I'm going to give Kid Robot a shout out for giving us a lovely new decoration in our background. So this is the
wow.
Andy Warhol. I'm a huge Andy Warhol fan, so you can see my little Andy Warhol fan section over there. Um, and yeah, so I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for Kid Robot and Jason Blake, and we're gonna have him on, I think, at some point. But that's
JB.
yeah, we've spoken
There
about
are a
him in the past.
lot of famous JBs.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
Pass the
James
peas.
Brown,
Well, I went
the
there
Jungle
immediately.
Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. My boss is a JB.
Oh,
Shout
all
out to
right.
JB. Yeah. Man, it would be great to have Jason Blake on.
Okay. Well, we'll work on that.
Yeah. All right. Once I get my.
We're not pay to play, Rob.
Uh, well, there are things we probably should talk about, though, even if they're not pay to play.
Let's do that.
Shall I kick it off?
Please. I'm ready.
Well, 'tis the season, if you will. Thanksgiving is often a time that new students, new college students, are home for the first time.
Oh yeah.
You also have the early career graduates who are off on their journey and maybe they don't live at home anymore.
Yep.
And they're coming back to see family for
Yes.
the first time, having moved out. And it's an exciting time.
Yes.
And they come back and they celebrate something called BBNOTY.
I, I
You're
I
from
have never heard this. What is BB Naughty?
BBNOTY is the biggest bar night of the year.
Oh my! I have participated in BB
Sure, yeah,
Naughty as a young
sure, yeah.
person, but I did not know it had a name.
I have to hat tip some folks in the state of Michigan
Okay.
and fellow Michiganders
Okay.
who introduced me to that acronym. I was not aware of BBNOTY either, but it makes
Oh
sense.
yeah.
If you're not aware of it, biggest bar night of the
Oh,
year,
for sure.
BBNOTY, makes sense.
Yeah.
So um, we didn't have too many participants in my household,
Okay.
but certainly it got me thinking about the college experience and the post grad experience and whether this was related or not. I was fed a story
Okay.
on NBC News
Okay.
about the value of 4-year education.
Oh boy.
And I thought you would be a great person to talk to about this. NBC did a poll
Okay.
in 2013, in
Okay.
2017, and in October 2025. And I'm going to read you the results here. The header, it's not the title of the article, but the header of this section is Americans have veered sharply against the value proposition of college. Is 4-year college degree worth the cost? Oh,
I got you back. You were gone for a moment on my side,
Oh,
but I'm sure you're recording on your side. I just didn't know what you said. So the if you could loop for me,
what? Yeah, how did that happen?
fun technology.
Something happened.
Apparently
Okay.
it's the biggest bar night in the internet.
Yeah.
So
So,
you were saying NBC News ran a poll, and you again, we may have captured the moment, but I didn't hear it. So if you would repeat for me
right.
the number.
Yes, in June of 2013,
Hmm.
53% polled said college was worth the cost.
That's still lower than what I would have hoped for, but okay. So that was what year again?
2013.
2013. Okay.
In 2017, that number was 49%.
Wow.
And in October 2025, this is an NBC News poll,
Yep.
down to 33%.
Oh God, you're killing me. 33% think that college. Does it say undergrad or grad or just college?
Is a 4-year college
Or
degree
your college degree?
worth the cost because people have a better chance to get a good job and earn more money over their lifetime,
Right.
or not worth the cost
Right.
because people often graduate without specific job skills and with a large amount of debt
Right.
to pay off.
Right.
So, if the questions are leading
Sure.
to that answer,
Yeah.
but certainly I know as a parent with 2 college
Yep.
students, the cost is obscene.
Um,
And of course, the layer of uncertainty that AI is presenting, especially in the early career opportunities, adds a layer of anxiety. That uncertainty breeds anxiety and concern over what opportunities will exist.
I got to breathe on that one. Okay, good. I think that Scott Galloway talks about this a lot. So Scott Galloway's quote is higher education in America is a $2 trillion industry waiting, sticking its chin out to be basically clocked. Um, and we have seen with the recent administration an actual like move to disrupting the traditional higher education industry. And what people also are concerned about, and is very real, is that there's $1.6 trillion worth of student debt in America. That's undergrad and grad, so it's not just 4 year. Um, and so we have to deal with this. Um, Educational institutions will tell you and cite chapter and verse from the fact that people with 4 year degrees tend to have higher earning potential and tend to be better and tend to feel better as well. And there are, though, obvious structural issues in how the educational industry writ large has created itself and built on top of itself. And I think you have a stat as well about maybe the price tag.
So, the cost of in state tuition at 4-year universities has doubled since 1995.
Right.
Now, I don't have the perspective of the increase for the previous 30 years before
Sure.
1995
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
So, the increase from 1965 to 1995, I don't have that number.
Right.
But tuition has doubled for in-state students
Mhm.
from 1995 to 2025.
Right. So the public good aspect of higher education was something that dates back to the land grant institutions in the 1800s. I am forgetting the name of the act off the top of my head, but I have it and I've written about it in the past. And there are institutions that, even upon their founding, believed in both skills like agricultural skills, as well as creating good citizens through traditional liberal arts type courses. And I think we're seeing this again, where people are starting to question whether the acquisition of knowledge should be allowed in areas that don't have a specific, industry attached to them. I don't know. Is this a good time to read you something, or did you have some more that you wanted
No,
to
I
talk
think that
about
is,
here?
I think that's a great segue,
Okay. So
especially if it's connected to
it's
our topic
connected a
of
bit to what
conversation.
we're talking about, but we didn't quite get to the area of cost is an issue that is structural and is not what this particular piece is about. But the attack on and the questioning of value is what I would like to read you something.
Amazing.
So I would like to read you something, and I'm going to actually read it first, I think, and then I'm going to reveal to you where it comes from because I think it'll be interesting to see what you feel about it as I read it. This is from an article in a paper. Most of the brethren, in quotes, think that education should equip them with the proper instruments of exploitation so that they can forever trample over the masses. Still others think that education should furnish them with noble ends rather than means to an end. It seems to me that education has a twofold function to perform in the life of man and in society. The one is utility, and the other is culture. Education must enable a man to become more efficient to achieve with increasing facility the legitimate goals of his life. It goes on. I think we'll stop there and find out what you think about this.
I'm actually interested to hear more about the culture piece.
Okay, well, this is Martin Luther King Jr. in 1947 in the Maroon Tiger, which is the student newspaper at Morehouse College. So this was before he was doctor. And
Sure.
he was writing, the rest of the article goes on, because there is this dynamic tension that was existing in 1947, so 80 years ago, or 75.
And he would have been 18.
Yeah.
He's a young man writing
And he
this.
was noticing this dynamic tension between skill acquisition and knowledge and culture in terms of having a knowledge of the mind and a legitimate life purpose that's beyond just make money or, in his words, trample the masses. And I think that this dynamic is happening now in higher education institutions right this minute. So if I'm going to a 4-year college, I want to acquire skills. Okay, great. Skill acquisition is important. But in a world of AI and AI changing potentially the nature of jobs, learning how to think is critically important. Learning critical thinking skills, critically important. Learning how to ask questions, really important. Learning how to understand what questions you should be asking. Because again, if the robot is doing a lot of grunt work, what's your human area of opportunity and difference that's going to create a reason for you to have a job? Don't know yet. But
This conversation was also being had by Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois as well, and about whether we should provide vocational training through education or a liberal arts degree. And certainly one that continues to be top of mind, especially when we consider these results. But I wonder how much an impact on the attack on education that this administration has influenced people's opinion in tandem with the fact that the cost and the investment is enormous.
yeah, well, certainly the institutions haven't done a good job of talking about a marketing problem. They haven't done a good job of explaining the benefit. And then again, with increasingly rising costs and people that have some college and no degree, or some college and no credential, that becomes really problematic because they have debt but no piece of paper. And
Mm.
so the move of a couple of institutions is to create a transcript that has certifications on it that go along with you and your acquisition of skills. The benefit of that is you never leave without something. It's like, okay, so I took a class, I got a certification in I don't know what. Maybe it's IT, maybe it's cybersecurity, maybe it's health assisting, whatever it might be. But on my transcript, at least I have certifications. And in the past, institutions didn't want to do this. They were divorced, right? Because the transcript just was like, you took a class, you got a grade. And now what we're trying to do is have something that's a little bit more transactional and beneficial to the end user, particularly at these high costs, and also so they don't walk away with just debt and no paper, which is terrible.
I wonder if that approach would also encourage older people to engage in, what do you call it? Adult education. What's the phrasing behind later in life
Sure.
going
Well,
back
yeah.
to
I mean,
school?
there is extended education, and there are programs that are adult or senior education, and then there's in fact, I was having this conversation last night. There are college, actually over Thanksgiving. It was actually specifically. I'll call out ASU, Arizona State University, who's doing a phenomenal job as well. The president over there is a gentleman named Michael Crow, and they have built senior living facilities on campus. And when you think about the fact that we have an aging population, which was something else I was going to read to you today because somebody sent me an article from the New York Times about the fact that 10,000 people a day turn 65 in the US. The opportunity to take an individual who has, in this case, they have some means. It's not an assisted living facility, but this individual was getting older, was self-aware, was probably in her late 70s, early 80s, still highly functioning, but saying, they would still let me have my car, and I would be able to live on campus, but I'd be able to walk around, and then within that, opportunities to take classes, opportunities to interact with young people. And there are even, and I was telling her that I have read about institutions that have even started to house 18-year-olds with seniors because the 18-year-old then has to show up. They can't be stupid. If they're missing class or sleeping in late or not studying, their roommate is going to call them out. And the older roommate has the opportunity of being reinvigorated by a young person. And so I think, and I was saying that I think that this trend actually started in Europe, but the capacity to have with an aging population these innovative or innovative, if you're American, um, ways of solving.
I am American. Thank you very much.
So I work with a lot of Brits, so
I see.
I've brought a lot of Britishisms into my dialect. So you have an innovative approach to solving for these structural changes in our society, and it becomes exciting and interesting again. Does it fix the price tag of universities? I don't know. Does it fix the purpose of a university? Maybe, because they got a lot of buildings, and if they're having less young people, you're going to have to do something with those buildings at some point in time.
I like so I get inundated, and maybe there was a period of time post COVID where this was more frequent. But I would get the 6 week course from MIT. MIT sent a lot of these on Instagram. 6 week course for AI training or for risk management and security, OpEx, all these kinds of things. And I had the mindset where I went to college, I got a 4 year degree, and I'm done. And I learned from other places. But I've always desired the connection that I found on college campuses and the opportunity to give back. It's why I engaged with one of the local universities in my town. I did some guest speaking. I love that. I would like to do more of that. The adjunct opportunity is really interesting, although it is quite time consuming. I think society, if we were more encouraging of that, then it makes sense to have these 6 week courses integrated, maybe even annually, if it's integrated into our culture. And that's the culture piece that I was thinking about and what Dr. King, or Martin Luther King Jr. at the time, um, was writing about in terms of laying the foundation for our culture through education. Absolutely is where that should stem from.
Agreed. And I think the desire to learn was one that was ingrained in our household. And, you know, uh, dad would go to philosophy group discussions as he got older. He was on stage writing and acting because he'd never done that and it was interesting to him. And so he had a lifelong desire to learn. And I think that was certainly instilled in us. And I think it's important. There are people that have written about the 100-year life and the fact that with a 100-year life, you're going to have to reskill during your life. And the higher education institutions talk about a 60-year curriculum. And
Mm,
so that is a part of what our life will be is the need to continue to learn and upgrade our own, for lack of a better word, operating system to enhance our knowledge base so we can operate in the society as it transforms and changes around us. And I think that that becomes, to your point, something that has to become part of the cultural ethos. And I think we societally and corporately walked away from training programs. I think that becomes problematic. You know, in a cost cutting move, a lot of people took corporate training away. But, you know, back in the day, you'd go work at IBM and you'd never leave, but they would supply you with training along the way. And some larger organizations still do that. And the reason that you trade your time with those larger corporations is that they do have capacity to provide um, benefits like training and support and management training that you might not get at a smaller organization. Though on the flip side, what you miss is sometimes the opportunity to do some of those things because you're behind, you know, a stack of people.
yeah, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. In fact, I would like to read you something.
I would love to. I would love to hear what you have.
As someone who was around cooking, his entire life. Our, our father cooked. And when he wasn't in our house, our mom cooked, God bless her, as best as she could. Simon cooked. And food is such an integral part of the Palestinian and Lebanese culture, as it is with most every Mediterranean culture and beyond. This is a quote that Samin Nosrat, who most people might know as the author of Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, she chose a quote from Raymond Carver before her latest book, Good Things, Recipes and Rituals to Share with People You Love. That goes something like this: Eating is a small good thing in a time like this. And coming out of Thanksgiving and using food as a point of celebration, I thought that was an appropriate quote to read. And she was actually discussing this book, and it was a beautiful conversation with Rishikesh Irway, who she does a podcast with, by
Okay.
the way. I didn't know that. And they've done a podcast together for 5 years. And I only found this out through listening to their conversation that they had for City Arts and
Uh-huh.
Lectures. City Arts and Lectures in San Francisco, they do the recordings in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and they post them to Spotify.
Oh, nice.
So sometimes if I'm not listening to a podcast,
Yeah.
I will listen to one of their conversations.
Nice.
And and for those who, Rishikesh Irway does Song Exploder, and he's done that for like 12 or 14 years, something absurd. And I only became aware of it when they did a Netflix series
Okay.
on it. And
Yeah.
if you haven't seen those 2 seasons, it's 2 seasons, 4 songs each season. So it's
Okay.
8 total
All
songs,
right.
which is, man, how did that series stop?
Ah,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
They did REM Losing My Religion.
Okay.
They did Nine Inch Nails Hurt. And he talks about Johnny Cash covering it as well.
Yeah.
And it is just a phenomenal series. But they had a really nice conversation about the meaning of food and culture. And by the way, she talks about the vibe being more important than the actual food.
Ah,
And to tie it all together, she was like, "Don't sweat it. This is, don't worry about making a Michelin star meal for your get together, because a lot of this is friends getting together."
yeah.
She does a Monday night dinner
Okay.
um, in the Bay. She does a Monday night dinner, and she said sometimes we do taco night.
Right.
It's really just about the people
Yeah.
who you're in community with.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really nice thing to talk about this week.
I should tell you that I cooked a Lebanese dinner on Friday. I didn't tell you that, but I did. I rolled up my sleeves and did quite a lot of cooking myself. Since I didn't have to cook for Thanksgiving, I decided we had some people over. It was lovely.
Oh, so nor did you have the leftovers then
So
in
we
your
did have a
house.
little bit of leftovers to bring home with us. Our hosts
Sure.
were very nice and provided us with leftovers. But no, to your point, we didn't have the massive amounts of leftovers that oftentimes families do have post Thanksgiving. So I, rolled up my sleeves and made mujudurrah, kafta, tabouli, had some olives and hummus, and oh, even like a tzatziki. Yeah, so we went to town, had a lovely meal, and that the kids like that because they like to take kefta to school, which is this is those funny moments of like the ethnic foods that the kids have to bring to school. In this case, they actually want to, so hey, and tabbouleh is commonplace these days, and hummus is everywhere. So
It's so funny because we had a cheese platter that my sister-in-law provided, and she bought some mortadella. And in our house growing up, from time to time, Dad would have
yeah,
mortadella, but it was most turkey, ham, roast beef.
yeah,
And my first introduction to mortadella was Patsy de Benedictus. And every day he had a mortadella sandwich. And so he was a great target to trade lunches with.
Oh, okay.
Because as much as he liked mortadella, he was
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
please take my
Right.
sandwich. And so we would trade. And I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
I love mortadella.
Yeah.
Or mortadelle. I mean, they dropped the
Yeah.
vowels in America, don't they? But um, that's another tie into like the ethnic lunches. Like, and then some kids would have
Yeah.
sushi, and some kids would have right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It really is quite a scene at the
Yeah.
school lunch table.
It can be. That's
It
for
can be.
sure.
I guess so. Yeah, it can be. It can be. So, well, amazing, brother. This what a joy to be in your presence.
And you as well. It's fantastic as we ramp into the holidays. I'm so excited to continue to spend this time in an intentional manner with you. And I am
Love that.
thankful for you in my life. And I am thankful for your family. And I give them big hugs and big kisses. And I love you very much. And I'll see you real soon.
Amazing. We love you. Thank you, brother. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right.